Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Spotlight on Partners session. My name is Munasi, and I head the product marketing team here at Atera. And I'm very excited today to be moderating the session with our partners from Vicarius and Evan, who heads the Atera App Center Marketplace. So today, the topic of today's session is Remediation Reimagined. And we're welcoming, as I said, Vicarius to the Atera App Center. But just before we get started and introduce our distinguished guest today, I want to do just a little housekeeping. I love that, Agni. Thank you. This webinar is being recorded and it will be made available to you after the session within 24 hours. It's also going to be available on demand on our website. For Q&A, we want this to be an engaging session. We want to hear you. We want to answer your questions. So please, any questions that you have, go ahead, type them into the Q&A box, and we will be addressing them at the end of today's webinar. So without further ado, let's welcome our speakers. Hi, Evan. Hello, Sagi.
Hey, glad to be here.
Me too as well. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So Sagi, maybe let's start with you. Just give us a short brief. Tell us about yourself, what you do at Vicarius.
Sure. My name is Sagi Kratu, and I lead the product marketing at Vicarius. Previously, I've done startups like Orca, of course, around the Checkpoint and other smaller startups. So very excited to be here. I actually have prior knowledge with Atera and team. So happy to be here.
Great. Very excited to have you. And Evan, of course, our very own Evan. Go ahead.
Yeah, nice to meet you, everyone. I'm Evan. I'm the business development manager. I lead the business operations for the marketplace now for the last several years, mostly since it started ramping up, and spent the last 10 plus years in the enterprise tech ecosystem.
Thank you for that, Evan. And so, of course, today we're focusing on Atera partners. So maybe you can tell us a little bit, what is the Atera App Center and what is the value for customers that come through there?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Muna. So at a high level, the App Center, it's Atera's version, it's Atera's answer to giving customers an integrated experience with other apps, other solutions in their tech stack. Right? So by giving them connectivity between different solutions, we're increasing efficiency and we're basically saving times for MSPs, IT teams, and giving everything, all their solutions on one bill from Atera, right? So Atera is serving as the reseller, as the single point of purchase for all the solutions. We have solutions across many different categories, and Vicarius is kind of an example of filling a gap that we had, right, in terms of customers' tech stack, something that was very highly recommended. So giving customers an integrated experience alongside a comfortable, easy point of purchase. Yeah. And the App Center, you know, let me, if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen here.
Sure. So I stopped the slides. Go ahead. You should see it to your left side. Evan, you should see it on the left side. You've got the share screen option.
Can you see it?
Not yet. Yep, we can see your computer now.
There we go. So the Atera App Center basically covers everything, or it's designed to cover, to bring customers a full solution across their tech stack. We have a lot of different security solutions, you know, several covering endpoint security, you know, things like Bitdefender, threat down by Malwarebytes, Acronis has a solution, Signet, and other areas of security, like IronScales, which is email security. And here with Vicarius, we're answering, you know, vulnerability management and scanning and prioritization. We also have areas covered like remote access, you know, additional features within Splash.sos and Splash.premium. We have backup, we have Acronis and Axion. We have very different models. So whatever area, whatever alternate solution you need to complement Atera And under whatever commercial terms you would need, we have a solution for it within the App Center, together with an integration. If you go into an app, for example, like, I don't know, Axient, within app, you don't even need to leave the app. You can see, you can learn about all the devices, all the different products within Vicarius. It's no different, right? You can access the third-party tools directly from Atera, and we'll get into exactly how the integrations look later in this webinar and future webinars, but you can rest assured that our goal here is to really provide an integration while filling the tech stack with solutions that basically cover all the needs of an MSP and IT team.
Thank you for that brief, Evan. And obviously, whether you're an MSP or you're an internal IT department, the intention here is really to provide a plethora of solutions depending on the individual end user, individual customer needs. And with that, I'm very excited. I think that we do bring something revolutionary and based on customer requirements with Vicarius. And at this point, I'd love to hand over to Sagi to walk us through what he's going to walk us through today and what we're introducing into the App Center. Sagi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Evan. Great, thank you. Again, thank you everyone for joining today. We'll talk about a few things. I think they're interesting. First of all, moving away from detection only. I mean, is it so bad or is it lacking? We'll talk about the challenges of you running your own MSP. Probably not a lot of resources to grow, to expand your service levels. We'll run through a quick survey kind of to put a hand on the pulse and understand kind of where everybody stands. We'll talk about the MSSP or MSP tech stack. And then, of course, the better together story between Vicarius and Atera. And then I'm going to show you a quick demo. Moving on to the next slide. Yes, it works. All right. So not only MSPs, by the way, most organizations are stuck in detection hell, where we're seeing that 79% of professionals feel that they're overwhelmed. There's a myriad amount of alerts, a lot of vulnerabilities out there. I think I saw a stat that says year over year, it's about 40,000 new CVEs. This year, we're going to hit about 50,000. Half of teams say that they spend way too much time investigating alerts and probably not having a tool that does deduplication, which means that they're seeing a lot of the same alerts coming from different sources. And over 50% say that their client expect them to fix vulnerabilities quickly. Now, we need to understand what is quickly. Within 14 days, within 60 days. It's an interesting demand that we need to kind of talk about. And when they say I was lost, there we go. When they say that they are resource constrained, it means a couple of things. First, there's too much to do. Second, not a lot of people to do it with. And when you want to recruit people, it goes directly into your bottom line, which means that if you want to grow specifically, if you want to grow in the amount of customers, you need to grow in the amount of employees that provide them with services. So it's like a linear growth. You're not really kind of are able to do exponential growth. And the idea is that not a lot of people leverage automation. Not a lot of companies leverage automation. So this is an opportunity for MSPs, MSSPs. Patch management is still number one most time-consuming, and of course, a lot of errors can come for MSSPs and MSPs. So the idea is, how can we kind of take this and put it on a track that says you click a button, you go have a coffee, when you're back, it's done. And then it allows you to provide much better services to your customer. Now, to start off, I think we're at the survey time now, right, Tamuna? Yes.
Yes, let's do a short poll. We'd love the audience to please engage with us. So I'm going to share a poll. It's just one question. Feel free to answer. Okay, so please don't be shy. Let us know. Oh, wait, come on. Did I share that too soon? Did I share that too soon for our audience? Just give me a second again. Let's open it up. So you have a polls tab to the right. You should be able to vote. So please don't be shy. Go ahead. Tell us what is your primary challenge, primary concern. Come on, we can do better than that. Our audience. It helps Sagi point and answer specific questions to what you're seeing. Okay. Let's
And
take
us
a
as
look
well.
there. Okay. So Sagi, can you see the answers? Some of the stuff that's coming up? Okay. So it looks like compliance, audit requirements, slow and consistent patching seems to take up most of the responses. Okay. Thank you. We appreciate you engaging there. So let's close that out and let Sagi continue. Okay.
Cool. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Can I click on share, Muna?
Yes. Let's go back.
Cool. There we go. All right. So as you probably all know, most of you have probably like 80%, if not 100% of this tech stack, whether it's remote monitoring and management, professional services, automation, which is short for PSA, endpoint security, network monitoring, patch management, automation, backup and disaster recovery, threat intelligence, and integration capabilities that you either need or leverage today. One of the biggest issues is there isn't one system that does all these in a unified way or consolidated way. And trust me when I tell you, at least right now, I'm not the bearer of 100% news, but I'm a bearer of a 90% news or 85% news, which is much better than the 20-30% that most organizations live with today. And so let's try to understand how this actually works. So first of all, how do we, as the Vicarius and Atera, solve this problem? From like an overview standpoint, you start with Atera, and once you connect or integrate with Vicarius, you can start surface vulnerabilities and so on. And then you can run automated patching. And we'll talk about that when I do the demo and kind of dive a little bit deeper, where we believe that remediation, because we are a remediation first company, remediation is not about forcing you to do, for example, let's say Patch Tuesday's coming along and you need to patch a certain KB. And that's the only way you can do it, right? Patch that KB. That's not remediation in our book. Our remediation process or our remediation way that we look at things is about options. For example, let's say you can't patch now a critical thing, a critical asset because of a reboot, because of dependencies and things like that. So what we do, we're offering you two other options aside from the big patch option. One is called scripting. If you need to change something in the configuration, you can do that with a script, either that you bring from home, you develop it, or you take one that we have done with a whole community called vSociety that develops discovery and remediation scripts. And of course, virtual patching, which is our claim to fame, which means that you can go inline or in runtime memory and fix the issue. Now, this is not 100%, but this definitely reduces the surface area of the attack. So it actually drives hackers away because it's too much effort to do that hack with this in place. And of course, aside from showing you all the risks, we're showing you the reduction of risk. So if you do this, this will happen, and so on. So of course, as I said, automation is key here. So we'll provide you with real-time workflows from discovery to fix. And that's the big idea here. And of course, like Evan said, it's already available in the marketplace. So let's talk about, again, the major thing is, of course, from a technical perspective, but it's also from an efficiency and do more with less. The idea is that with using Atera and Vicarius, you can be 80% more efficient patching. Suddenly, you'll discover a new world that you can suddenly patch third-party applications. Over 11,000 applications can be detected and patched. Of course, operating system patches, and everything can be automated. So you can set up, for example, I see that there is a critical patch available. Let's do it now. Let's do it at noon. Let's do it whenever. Let's do a virtual patch immediately as a tourniquet. Block it, let me find out what's going on, and tomorrow I'll do the full patch or whatever. Of course, one platform, 0 silos. As many people as you have in your organization can log in. You can have permissions, of course. You can have, you're responsible for this team, you're responsible for that team, and so on. And what we found from interviewing a lot of MSPs, because we are an MSP company, I wouldn't say MSP first, but an MSP that we have a lot of MSPs as customers. that statistically what we're seeing is that we're allowing or enabling them to have 20% more endpoints being able to be managed by a single technician. So if a regular technician on your team can handle, let's say, 100 endpoints a day, 200 endpoints a day, add 20% into that. So that means that now you can start growing without directly hiring people, which is very interesting for your bottom line. And of course, in terms of the service level, if some of you are committed to an SLA, we can actually make your life easier. If some of you don't, maybe it's time to do that and charge a premium for it. So from 3 hours, for example, to 1 hour. Okay, so we can slash patching time if it's a server or an endpoint by 60%. And of course, our kind of unique approach into remediation, password protection, zero-day threats neutralized instantly with no need for emergency scrambles.
So, Sagi, forgive me
Yes.
there. I'm going to stop you and ask a question that runs
Sure.
in people's mind and that we see. So the first question here is, so I've got Atera, and how does this patching work in parallel to what I already have and set up? So either to you or to Evan.
Yeah. I think I'll take this, Muna. It's a good question. It works really in parallel to the Vicarius patching works in parallel to the Atera patching. You keep it, the Atera patching, but if a customer wants to do things like cherry pick their patches, right? Or add, I don't know, virtual patching, which I'm sure Sagi will touch, or patch based on the prioritization that Vicarius is suggesting, then you would use Vicarius. They're really designed to work together, right? As opposed to one on top of the other. Not sure if you have anything you want to add to that, Sagi, but.
No, I think that's exactly it. Adding, of course, third-party applications, we have the most. We are able to recognize the most third-party applications. You know, like it could be a browser, but it could be also like a Python build. So like over 11,000 third-party applications. And again, patching based on risk, not only as most companies do, if you know of Tenable and you know of that detect and prioritize based on CVSS. We do a lot more, and I'll show that to you in the demo and so on about like your real environment context and things like that.
Thank you for that. And just and sorry, Sagi, yes, just to continue to that, there's a question if it's the same, if it's a single interface to manage, or you're still doing it once in Atera and once in Vicarius. And I'm sure you will cover that in your demo.
So there's two separate interfaces. We kind of, with the marketplace, try to give you the benefit of both interfaces, right? So you have Atera, what you're used to, and you should use that, continue using that for the patching, whether it's, you know, the operating system or apps and whatever, and so on and so forth. With Vicarius, you have the Vicarius system. What we do have is the integration. Again, we'll get to it at the end or in the next webinar. And with the integration, you can then, you know, install or take actions to bring Vicarius to those endpoints if you want to do, for example, you know, cherry pick patches based on your security protocol. It's a very different kind of model that works in parallel. And we try to give you both worlds with an integration as well in between the two environments.
Thank you for that, Sagi. Go ahead and continue. Apologies.
No worries. All right. So again, one of the biggest things for MSPs is being able to scale and not pay for the linear scale. Like, for example, one customer, one technician, or 10 customers, one technician, and so on. So first of all, the idea here is to automate. By automating, you actually save money, which means that you're protecting your margins or you're even increasing your margin. It allows you to drive client satisfaction. You can patch much faster, automatically, have the system work for you, and not you in front of the screen working for the system. And of course, it's built for MSSP. So you have teams and you have tenants and you have all these capabilities that you can separate and control different customers. And of course, we allow you to differentiate your levels of service. Again, remember, you can patch OSs, you can patch different softwares. And let's say virtual patching is something that is very unique. Maybe you want to charge more on that. So that will give you like what we call a day zero protection and not a 0 day vulnerability. And of course, when I interviewed a lot of MSP leaders, we're trusted by them. We are their go-to for providing services for their customers. And one of them said that we're saving time, scaling faster, and delivering more value across the board. And that's a secret, especially when you talk about compliance, which we'll talk about later. You can now offer compliance as a service if you haven't done that before, all part of the Vicarius system. And just to show you that the messaging and the promotion that was done actually was very important to our audience, our mutual audience, Atera and Vicarius. It was picked up by major news outlets, online news outlets like Business Wire and Channel Insider, Tech Dogs, and of course Yahoo Finance. So the messaging really resonates with the market. So you have like the first taste, and we can now move to the demo. A second, let's see here. I need to stop sharing and then move to screen. Here's dashboard. Let's confirm that you can see it.
It's still coming up. Yes, we see it now.
Cool. All right, so this is the initial dashboard that you see in the Vicarius system. On the left, you see how many apps are detected, how many assets are computers, servers, and things like that, and how many different operating systems are detected. Again, this is a demo environment with customers with over 10,000 assets and even more applications. The risk level, all right, high, medium, and low. How many assets are in high risk, medium, and low? Asset status, they're online or offline. And of course, CVE trends, where you see the detected versus mitigated. Essentially, you always want to keep mitigated higher than detected. That means that you're not chasing, but actually responding to issues. The app risk map pretty much tells you, again, how many CVEs are in the apps, of course, CVEs in apps that are high, medium, and low. And this is very important here, what we call X tags. These are your environmental controls. What I mean by that is that we generate this dynamically based on your environment. So this is unique to this environment. For example, I can check, for example, if the vulnerability that we saw, is it a known vulnerability, which means that it has a patch, okay? What does the attack surface look like? And when I change something, it actually does or and. So it depends on what you choose. So you build that schema here, and then you, for example, let's say it has a patch, okay? So now I'm looking at things that have a patch. So 6, okay, so this makes my life a little bit easier. Maybe I can patch it. But let's say I want to kind of do the statistics of it, and I change it from or to and. And then we can see here that it has a patch, availability of impact, which means that the VRS analysis engine detected CVE that if exploited will result in a high impact to the availability of the affected component, okay? Which means that this is a dangerous thing if someone is able to hack it, right? If it's a known vulnerability and so on. So we can see exactly what's going on. Remember, this right here on the right is noise. We're able to remove that noise. Think about the percentages here, okay? This is about, let's say, 6%. So you know how every vendor says, we'll show you the 5% that really matter? This is what we mean when we say that. Moving on, we can see the CVE threats. Remember, here we talked about applications. Here we're talking about the assets themselves. And here we're talking about the CVEs that we detect. So 10 of them are critical, 134 are high, and so on and so on. Let's move on and show you kind of our app detection capabilities. Is it loaded on your side?
Nope. We don't see anything coming up, Sagi.
Okay, one second. One second, check.
You gotta love demo environments, right?
Yeah, I think it's my internet connection because it's slower on my side too.
That's fine. So as it comes up, there is a question here about whether your solution is agent-based.
It is. So an agent has to be deployed. In the next release, we're going to actually go agentless as well. So you're actually going to be exposed to even more types of assets that you cannot install agent on, like IP cameras, printers, routers, all those let's say non-agent type of assets. Let me just see.
And to add to what Sigi just said, that actually speaks to the integration that we've built out, right? It allows you to take advantage of the fact that Vicarius has an agent. Via Atera, you can deploy it more easily.
True. All right.
Great,
so here we're looking. Can you see the screen now?
Yep.
Okay, good. So you can see that we are in the asset. We have right now 15 assets that has been discovered, and you can see that once it's propagated, we know what operating system it has. Of course, we're one of the vendors that support all the major operating systems: Windows, Linux, Mac OS. Again, this is something that you can tag along in your service to your customers if they have Macs. Or did you refrain in the past from servicing Macs because you didn't have a system to support it? So now you can, and so on. Now you can see here, for example, the status, which is online, how many apps are installed that we can detect on the asset, the last time it connected, and that it's high risk. And what we can do is we can actually dive deeper into the asset and see what's going on. So for example, they have, this is Ubuntu, it has 5 high risk assets, sorry, not assets, applications. We can see all the IPs that are on, this is probably a server, again, it's a mongrel, so it looks like a database server. How many IPs it has, and one IP that is external. Of course, all this in terms of the active CVEs. It says here even OS updates, there's no updates for this operating system, so good work. And if you want to see full view, let's see if this loads. Yes, okay. So in the full view, what we can see is the actual asset risk level and kind of the contributing factors to those risks. So if I walk on this, you can see that at some point it was detected that it had a known vulnerability. You can see that in terms of CVS, it was 3.8 here on the left. Once it was an attack surface type of, like an open attack surface, the risk increased to 4.7. And so on and so on. It increased that it has an exploit already in the wild, so it increased to 7, and so on and so on. Here it reached integrity impact, and then protected by VRX, which means that it's now protected by virtual patching. So you see that the risk dropped.
Sagi, we're
yes.
seeing the operating system screen, just to make sure that that's the original screen.
Okay, you're seeing this. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You see my mouse move here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we can see that we detect 4 operating systems, all right? And again, we can go deeper into the operating system and see, for example, again, this is not one operating system. These are all the assets that have Windows 10, okay? And we can see that, for example, this needs to be updated KB 50, whatever, under 2 assets. And it will solve 4 CVEs. And you can click here and update. This is manual patching. Okay, same thing goes for this one, and this one. We can see VRX analysis and say that, okay, there is a version, a new version for Windows 10, 22 H2, for 2 assets that you can upgrade. And you can update it from here. Again, this is all manual stuff. If we're moving, hold on, let's go to assets now. There we go. And let's look at this asset. This is a Mongo database, right? And full view. Let me know if you can see the full view, because I'm guessing it's dependent on which window I shared.
Right.
Yeah, I see.
Can you see the graph?
I see
I don't
the
see it. I don't see a
the
graph.
risk level. I see the app risk level, the app updates, OS updates, and the top of the CVE trends and active CVE section.
Okay, so that's not that. Hold on, let me stop sharing for a second. And where is the share here? There we go. One moment. I think it's this one. Yeah. Okay. So here we can see the active CVEs. Okay, these are all the
Yes.
CVEs that are currently on the system. And if you want to see more information, you click on this and you see the explanation. And if you want to learn more about this specific CVE, you can, not a problem. All right. Now, aside from scanning in our own way with our own agent and things like that, and of course with agentless in the next release, we're also able to ingest external scanner information. So if your customers have Qualys, have Nessus, or you just want to even run like an Nmap type of scan, which open ports and things like that on their system, you can do that. And you can see, for example, here, if we're looking at Qualys, we can see the output of the Qualys scan. For example, they scanned 1,300 assets. At this point, didn't recognize any apps. What OS families was detected, Windows, Linux, other, Mac 0, and things like that. So you can actually take this and ingest it into the system and provide solutions based on an external scanning source. If we go to compliance, at this stage, we are supporting 7 benchmarks, whether it's for Mac OS Sonoma, Google, Microsoft Edge, Ubuntu, and other Windows, and things like that. You can actually see exactly what is the benchmark. These are based on CIS. And in the next release, we're going to have 40 more, including even HIPAA and PCI DSS and things like that. And you can actually generate what we call audit-ready reports so that you can use these and say, okay, this is 46%. Let's open it up. Let's see where we're not compliant. Let's look at all the failed. That's what's interesting. And start fixing it. Okay, if you click on it, it will tell you exactly what's going on and how to fix it as well. Very simple, very easy. Again, talking about manual patching, you can do patch management as you would in Atera. And of course, you can do this via scripting. I think the real goal or the real claim to fame here to saving you time and increasing your margin is the automation part. Now, the automation part is very, very simple. Now, the idea here that is super important is that you can do multiple action or multiple reactions into a single action. For example, if you want to update an app, if you want to update an OS, run a script, send a report, reboot, compliance, and so on, let's start with app updates. So now, again, remember, this is the automation part. So it can be, let's choose everything. Just to, okay, for example, what is something that is, let's say, low-hanging fruit, maybe Chrome, okay? Chrome is a low-hanging fruit. I chose it, and then I can choose, of course, multiple applications that I want. These are all the applications that have some sort of an update for it. You can see here, by the way, low risk, low risk, low risk. I don't know if this is something you need to touch. If it's low risk, I would touch mainly the high-risk ones and the medium ones. So let's do next. And then here, okay, only if it's critical and high, then perform this action. Now, do we want to auto reboot? You know how customers love it when you reboot in the middle of the day. So let's not do that. So it's not going to do auto reboot, right? Now, let's say I want another action here, right? So I chose the application, I did the update setting, but I also want to do something else. Let's do run a certain script. Okay, I want to run some, like, for example, give me all the network interfaces that are installed on this machine. Give me this, or try to detect something else, and so on. You click on run script, and then you can choose which script to run. There are public scripts, which means that they're getting from the community. And by the way, they're audited and checked by Vicarius. And there are my scripts, scripts that me as an MSP, I developed specifically for my customers or specifically for my ease of use. So I can choose which script to run. For example, in this case, let's just run this one. It doesn't mean anything right now, and so on. And now I choose, who am I running this information on, right? Who am I running this automation on? Do I run it on everyone? If it's Chrome, sure, let's run it on all the assets. All right, now, of course, remember that you can also do ring deployment. So by creating asset groups, for example, saying this is the QA, this is the finance, this is the R&D, this is marketing, and so on, you can say, okay, I'm releasing this now to the QA group. If everything is okay, to the next group. That's what we call ring deployment. So you're able also to validate the patching so that there doesn't create too much noise in your organization.
Great.
And then
So
when?
Sagi, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Yeah.
I don't want us to run out of time, and I do want to
Mm-hmm.
share that we have an in-depth demo next week that really go over the entire platform. So
Mm-hmm.
again, I'll let you finish in a minute, but I do want to keep some time for questions because
Sure.
we're getting a few
I'll
coming through.
do the automation part and say that we have reports, of course, and system logs. In terms of the automation, you can choose how many times you want to run it, every day, every week, every month, just once, and choose the date if it's just once. And of course, rolling execution just means that you want to limit the number of assets you do at once. So for example, you want to do 50 assets, you want to do 500 assets at once, and so on. So what kind of time limitation? And that's it. Once that, it goes into the queue, and it will run. It will send you a report once it's completed. It will give you a report once it's completed. And you can see here, for example, this is automation here, and you can check for summary view and what has happened. And I'll finish here and continue with the next part of the session.
Thank you for that, Sagi. And I know we want to keep the questions to the end, but I think it's critical that we answer this one. So Carlos, first of all, I'm sorry that you feel this way, but basically Evan, Carlos thinks, that this is a patch, if you like, to make Atera work for an extra charge. What do you have to say about that? And maybe then you can go into your integration.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm sorry you feel that way. Really, the use cases are completely different. The use case, like Sagi really went into, and we'll go into more next time, with Vicarius is more focused around the prioritization and the picking and the organizing of vulnerability scanning, vulnerability remediation, and patching those vulnerabilities, understanding what those are, and then prioritizing from them. The Atera use case is much more focused, again, you're all familiar with the AI, but also on monitoring and managing your endpoints, right? We're not prioritizing CVEs necessarily, but we bring them to you, and we allow you to monitor the network, to create tickets, whatever it is. And then on top of that, if you want more information and you want to go more in depth and say into a CVE that we have in our network discovery, then it would make sense to go into Vicarius to get much more information. So really, they're designed to work together. It's not something that to make Atera work or anything like that. They're one alongside the other. We also have this integration that allows you to maximize the usage of both platforms, right? We want to give you both platforms. And again, we can go into the depths of the integration next week, but at a high level, it's an agent-based solution. So you can install manually, as you can see in this screenshot on the right. You can auto install, and you can sync tenants, right? So again, that's something that we have inside Atera. We have the PSA side of the platform. So if you're an MSP and you have customers, or if you're an IT department and you have different sites, you can automatically push those out from Atera to Vicarius, and then you don't have to go back and forth between platforms, right? We also give you reporting so you can understand usage reports, and so forth. But again, just to stress, Carlos, there's a difference between, let's say, a device management tool and a remote monitoring and management tool, right? Like an MDM almost, like Intune, right? There, it's a profile-based system. With Atera, it's an agent-based system. It's very different. And ultimately, the idea is to give you a full picture altogether with the two platforms. You can also manage the security aspect, the vulnerability scanning, management, and so forth, alongside the monitoring, the management, the solution solving with the AI that you get via Atera.
Evan, let me just add one more thing for the person who asked about Intune. Intune is primarily Microsoft focused. So and Microsoft kind of ecosystem. So it doesn't update, if I remember correctly, non-Microsoft entities, or Microsoft applications. So if your customers have a need for Mac, Linux, and again, I don't know specifically if they support Chrome, for example, or not, but think about supporting any number of apps that are not in the Microsoft ecosystem. That is the augmented part of it. And since Vicarius can do what Intune does, then you can supersede, exchange, replace, if that makes sense in your business right now.
Perfect. Thank you, Sagi. There is a question to you about if you can actually roll back the patch in case something goes wrong.
So it depends. There are places, application, like for example, Chrome, if you patch it, you can't roll back. You need to uninstall and reinstall. Okay, that's not a Vicarius thing. It's a Chrome thing. KBs, you can uninstall KBs, like for example in Microsoft. So yes. So it all depends if the application or the software allows you to do that. I hope that answered your question.
Okay, and then there's a question here about comparing Vicarius to Sentinel-1. If someone has that, is it on top of, in addition to, instead of?
Right. So it's a completely different approach. Sentinel-1 is an EDR, and you can compare it to CrowdStrike, for example. What we do is that we can work together with Sentinel-1. For example, we have a relationship with CrowdStrike, a collaboration with CrowdStrike as an example. And what we can do, we can use CrowdStrike as a compensating control, for example. And the deployment mechanism is the Vicarius deployment mechanism. So again, finding vulnerabilities, patching those vulnerabilities on different types of OSs that you can't even install Sentinel-1 on. So I think that it's not a competition. They live together. I mean, they can live very happily together.
Okay. Right. I've something. Sorry to add up to what Sagi said. Something that I actually heard for a customer say recently. It's like, yeah, I have my my EDR, my endpoint detection and response system running on an endpoint, which solves for that specific endpoint. But if I want to see the interplay of all the other vulnerabilities, right, that's where I'm looking for another solution to be together with Atera. That was what we heard feedback, and that's from that customer's perspective, a way that kind of Vicarius would sit alongside an EDR, and the two of them would sit alongside Atera.
Thank you. There's a question here related to the reports that we saw very briefly regarding executive level reports and the level of customization and how you can then share those, for example, for compliance purposes or to share with clients. So is that?
So I'll separate compliance and the regular reports. Yes, you have executive reports built into the system. I think that next week when you guys do the deep dive, they'll show you exactly how that works. From a compliance perspective, from the next release, you're going to have audit-ready reports for compliance. So you can actually take it as, sometimes you have to take, if you want to comply with a certain framework or a certain standard, you have to take it to like a lawyer or like an attestator that approves this. So this is actually going to be attestation-ready report, if you want to call it that, audit-ready report that you can download, take it to your approval or approver, excuse me, and run with it.
Okay, and I think a question here to Evan. We talked about CVSs and CVEs. So if I'm using network discovery, the Atera solution, what does that mean? And how do these play together?
Yeah, good question. A network discovery is, on a high level, is basically like having an extra IT person going around the office to find all the issues, right? Synced nicely into Atera within the same platform. We bring you all the CVEs. With that said, we don't give you information on those CVEs, right? That requires a much more in-depth solution and the prioritization. That's where Vicarius comes in, right? And it depends what you want. But to have, within Atera, the knowledge and just understand the basic need, that's where that comes in. In parallel, if you want to go deep diving into those vulnerabilities, that's where Vicarius would bring value to network discovery.
Okay, and I think Evan, okay, can the network discovery data from Atera be fed into Vicarius?
Good question. It's not something we have right now. Possibly in the future as we look to deepen the integration, but not right now.
Okay, and I think a last question here in terms of the pricing model and where they can see visibility or learn about the different packages if there's different packages.
So we're selling just one price entry point to get in to Vicarius, right? It's priced per endpoint, right? You can go in the App Center tab in your Atera account. You can go in with all of our vendors, by the way. You can go in and I can share my screen actually if you'd like. Here, I will share it. In this screen right here, where you go into where it says App Center, and then you click the vendor where it says prices. We bring you all the products. You can see here it's just one. It's really a bundle solution. You get everything all in it, under that one price.
And there's a trial with that, just to confirm.
Yes. The trial, I believe, is 30 days. I will confirm that within the next 20 seconds.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And I think that with that, it's 30 days.
1 second. The trial for Vicarius is 14 days, excuse me.
14-day trial. Okay, so if I'm an Atera user, I can go in, I can activate a 14-day trial. It's a single package, easy, quick setup, and I can start testing out Vicarius. Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
And just to add on top of that, we have very close relationship with the company. Sagi is our right-hand man, and we're happy to obviously bring them into the loop if you have questions during that process to make sure that nothing is left unanswered.
Wonderful. And we do have a requested demo. If you do want to get a personalized view of the solution, this is your opportunity to request a demo. But next week, and I'll just share this again, next week, same time, same day, we're going to do a hands-on walkthrough to show you a deep dive of Vicarius and what the solution can offer, and walk through a little of the setup and how quick it is to implement, and whether you're an MSP or corporate IT, how you would deploy it into your unique environment. With that, any final words from your side, Sagi?
All good. Just thank you, Muna, and thank you, Evan, and thank you for our lovely audience.
Thank you so much. Evan, any final words from your end?
I would love to meet you all. Nice talking with you, and looking forward to working together.
Wonderful. So thank you so much today, Vicarius team, for sharing with us. Thank you, audience, for joining. I do have a final request. If you can take a minute of your time to answer our very short survey, it helps us bring the content that you want to hear about, and it helps us improve. So please go ahead, respond, and thanks again for your time. And hopefully you'll join us next week, Wednesday. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.